The warehouse exhales flames like a living thing, ribs of steel glowing, rafters crackling. Snow vaporizes mid-air, turning to ghostly steam that coils along the tracks. Ethan Cole crawls beneath a fallen beam, jacket scorched, lungs rasping smoke. The night tastes of gasoline and copper, an acrid hymn for broken towns. Rex Canine shoulders through ash and nails, muzzle blackened, eyes bright with purpose. A ledger, half-burned, presses against Ethan's chest, its paper blistered, its ink bleeding names. Sirens smear color across the blizzard, blue and red pulsing through white. Somewhere beyond the orange roar, a child's cry thins into the gale, small and stubborn. Heat buckles the windows. Bottles pop like distant gunfire. Sparks drift upward, brief constellations over ruin. The fire feeds, then falters, then feeds again. Duty narrows to breath, to movement, to the steady weight of a dog that refuses surrender. Before the furnace and the ledger, the town was a gray page waiting for marks. Frost Hollow kept its secrets tucked in pine seams and shuttered doors. Ethan drove slow, wipers metronoming, thoughts quiet as snow. Rex Canine watched the tree line, tail still, ears tuned to threads of wind. The patrol heater sang a thin, tinny note, barely touching the cold. Tire lines vanished behind them, swallowed by drifts that mended themselves instantly. Somewhere near County 7, a red porch light blinked, stubborn against the storm's indifference. Coffee tasted like duty in old tin. A radio whispered names that never mattered until they suddenly did. The road tilted toward nowhere, but Ethan kept to habit, kept to scanning shadows. Faith, for him, lived in patterns repeated until they held. The town breathed shallowly, saving strength, waiting for the blow that writes history in one merciless stroke. The blizzard opened like a curtain and revealed a shape stitched with desperation. Small shoulders hunched against knives of wind, knees buckling, hands raw and uncovered. Jake Miller staggered into headlights that flattened the forest into paper. Tears froze at the edges, turning his fear into glittering salt. The world held its breath, and even the pines seemed to recoil. Rex Canine rose in a single decisive motion, reading a story written in scent and posture. Ethan stepped into the cold that bit bone, measuring distance, measuring time, measuring stakes. The truck idled, a low animal trying to stay alive. Snow hissed across the hood, laying a veil over everything recognizable. Somewhere behind Jake, the wind carried a broken sound, thin as thread, fraying at the edges. The night chose sides. Compassion moved first, habit followed. The storm swallowed the rest and dared the living to continue. The trailer door surrendered to a push and announced a history of neglect. Linoleum fissured like dry riverbeds, glass seeds scattered across dull light. The air carried whiskey, rust, and the metallic rumor of blood. Sarah Miller rested near a fallen dresser, body arranged by violence rather than sleep. Blue paint on the door remembered summers nobody mentions anymore. Rex Canine traced a low circle, nose sifting particles of cowardice and rage. Ethan measured pulse, counted ribs, mapped bruises like a cartographer confronting bad terrain. An overturned chair leaned into a shadow that felt practiced. A photo on a table corner showed better days clipped by truth. The storm pressed at the broken window, a white palm on thin skin. Time flexed around responsibility and began to sprint. Somewhere beyond the wall, shoe treads fled. Inside this room, survival planted its flag and waited.
Frost Hollow's medical outpost glowed like a coal, dim but warm against the drift. Fluorescent hums battled winter's hush, while coffee carved small mercy into the air. Nurses moved with practiced economy, steady as metronomes on quiet vinyl. Sarah's chest rose in careful inches, stitched to machines translating hope into waves. Jake's shoulders finally slept, but his hands clung to a truth no weather could thaw. Sheriff Linda Hayes arrived like a front of clear sky, boots shedding snow that refused permanence. Paperwork gathered facts, eyes gathered promises, silence gathered meaning. Rex Canine lay belly to tile, head angled toward every approach, guard and anchor. Ethan stood between task and confession, reading monitors like road signs. Outside, plows argued with a town already tired. Inside, the Heartline blinked steady, a soft green river across a cold screen. Not victory. Not yet. Enough. Corruption rarely shouts. It prefers margins, initials, careful sums tucked between errands. The half-burned notebook traveled beneath Ethan's coat, warm as contraband truth. Pages wore smoke like old parchment, corners curled, spine blistered, but meaning intact. Names surfaced, some modest, some brazen, some pretending anonymity through clever abbreviations. Councilman Howard Briggs appeared in hard pencil, the kind that grinds rather than glides. Delivery dates nested beside weather notes and fuel purchases that never matched receipts. Arrows pointed from quarry tracks to freight docks and then outward, wider still. Ethan's thumb smudged ash into a stain shaped like a map. Sheriff Hayes turned each leaf as if disarming a device wired to reputation. The clinic room felt smaller while the town grew larger, all hinges and shadows. Rex Canine shifted, uneasy, sensing a hunt turning onto older trails. Paper whispered, snow pressed, patterns emerged.
Rex Canine dreams in fragments, hot metal, human heartbeat, smoke that bites eyes. Somewhere long before Frost Hollow, a siren receded and a hand shook less. Training etched obedience over instinct, yet instinct still governs mercy at speed. Scar tissue holds weather like a barometer, throbbing when storms prepare their teeth. He catalogs scents the way scholars catalog years: fuel, ash, fear, pine sap. His loyalty is not romantic, it is a practiced craft, honed to an edge. In the clinic corridor, footsteps tally like soft alarms, and he memorizes each pattern. The boy smells of salt and wool and stubborn hope that outweighs size. The mother smells of machine oil, copper, resilience, and winter citrus caught in hair. The officer smells of old smoke, black coffee, and a promise that refuses dilution. Rex drifts, ears ticking, storing the town inside a mind built for pursuit. Wind River Quarry crouches under snow like a sleeping machine, bolts stiff, cranes skeletal. Tire tracks break the surface, lines of intent across a blank hymn. Wooden sheds cling to the rock face, their doors breathing in slow, reluctant motions. The whiskey is stacked like small churches to a cheaper god, labels ghosted by frost. Fuel stains rainbow the ice, proof that haste lacked room for discipline. Ethan's camera drinks the scene, framing crates, footprints, and the gravity of carelessness. Rex Canine threads between shadows, tale describing questions the wind cannot answer. Somewhere above, a truck coughs awake and shifts weight across brittle gears. Voices carry on cold metal, sentences clipped, certainty brittle, fear dressed as swagger. The mountain accepts everything and absolves nothing. Photos click, evidence gathers. The operation outlines itself in plain geometry. The quarry has seen heavier burdens, still it notices this.
Frost Hollow learned to swallow disappointment when the quarry shut its gates. Men paced shorter kitchens, bills piled like mail nobody opened, tempers ran longer than roads. Bars fattened in neon while churches thinned, both humming familiar hymns to escape. Travis Kane wore the closure like a handprint, first as grievance, then as creed. Work found him through darker corridors, each step lit by easier money. The operation grew quietly, a fungus traveling under floorboards while winter occupied the eyes. Small officials learned the language of looking away, signatures bending to practical weather. Trucks moved without plates, fuel skimmed through friendly pumps, favors accumulated like snow. The town never agreed to complicity. Fatigue negotiated on its behalf. Ethan arrived late to this party and found chairs already warm. Rex Canine only understands trail, threat, rescue. Together they translate sickness into names and places, then act. Time loses edges in rooms where machines decide rhythm. Sarah sleeps in graduated depths while bruises write their fading calendar. Jake keeps vigil in bursts, eyelids stuttering, fingers hooked around warm fur. Sheriff Hayes moves between doors, her presence a useful weather that calms. Paper cups, blanket corners, window condensation, a dozen tiny anchors for drifting minds. Ethan rebuilds the timeline on a legal pad, blocks and arrows, gaps like potholes. The ledger waits, patient as gravity, pressing weight through the table into floorboards. Dr. Grace Turner stops by with the soft authority of the helpful and competent. She reads Rex's gait, notes strain, prescribes rest he will refuse when needed. Outside, salt trucks scrawl gray veins through white streets. Inside, forgiveness sketches ghost lines nobody can yet trace. Not a stalemate, not a surge, the necessary stillness before consequences break.
Night returns with a cleaner sky and a dirtier plan. Fire travels fast when fed by memory and gasoline, licking corners, swallowing proof. The trailer exhales glass, windows bowing outward in surrender, then collapsing into glittered drifts. Heat ravels insulation into yellow webs, nails pop like corn, plastic weeps down studs. The blaze tries to rewrite history as ash and steam, a brutal editor. Ethan arrives with tires singing protest, boots biting through crusted ice. Rex Canine anchors near to steps, pawing snow into small rescue trenches. A notebook trapped beneath char and beam breathes embered breaths, refusing to disappear. Smoky pages sigh surrender, then flare back, then finally yield to wet glove and resolve. What survives is scarred but legible, a stubborn survivor like everyone else here. Flames gasp toward the sky, orange petitions that find no answer. Evidence lives, plans change. Inside those singed leaves, a network tightens like laces drawn by a hidden hand. Fuel vendors look generous without invoices. Cash drops masquerade as civic donations. Councilman Howard Briggs appears again, here in a tidy ledger line shaped like denial. The quarry connects to the rail yard to seasonal cabins with perfectly timed outages. Permits shifted, patrols rerouted, storms cited as reason and shield in equal measure. Ethan traces the arrows with a pen that stutters on ash. Sheriff Hayes stands very still, a habit when anger wants motion. Every name weighs differently. Some promise cooperation, some will immediately practice amnesia. Rex Canine noses the paper, then the door, then the hall, mapping urgency. The town tilts slightly, a picture frame no longer level. History tightens its belt. When winter recedes, this ledger will remain. The question is who else will?
Ethan keeps a private archive of smells and sounds that never retire. A roadside blast years earlier carved a corridor where sleep sometimes falls and breaks. He remembers heat that felt identical to drowning and a barking that would not stop. A stray shepherd dragged weight across gravel until help arrived, lungs shredding, heart relentless. Grief learned his address then and began sending postcards every winter. Rex Canine did not replace that dog. He extended a story already written. The partnership became ritual, then trust, then something softer without sentimentality. Snow scratches the clinic windows the way sand once rasped a uniform. Ethan inventories fatigue and files it under acceptable cost. Pain becomes instruction when it refuses to leave. He studies the ledger as if reading an old letter finally decoded. Outside, the plows pass again. Inside, the mission grows teeth and waits. Jake keeps a small silver feather cupped in his palm, an heirloom that steadies breath. Its edge is smooth from years of worry, its shine dulled by honest use. He thinks of it as a compass that points toward whichever adult refuses to fail. The storm took parts of him he does not yet recognize, but left courage louder. In the clinic's thin light, he watches Rex sleep with one eye almost open. He measures time by the dog's chest, counting rises like steps to a porch. The town feels bigger when you are small and awake, but not unbearable. Snow becomes a blanket rather than a wall if someone stays. He decides to return what was lost, to make wrong things align, to move. Children become pivotal when stories forget logic and remember heart. The feather warms. A plan gathers without needing words.
The rail yard sprawls like a rib cage guarding dim orange organs. Plywood windows leak light that stains drifts with cheap amber halos. Ethan studies from the dark, breath disciplined into fog that disappears quickly. Rex Canine stills to a statue, only the ears revealing life's calculations. Trucks rest at awkward angles, as if parked by hurry rather than habit. Inside, silhouettes lift and lower crates with the rhythm of smuggling turned routine. Evidence requires patience, and patience requires luck, and luck detests hunger. A smaller set of footprints approaches along the rail ties, careful, determined, too familiar. The silver feather glints once under the weak lamp, then disappears inside a pocket. Duty redraws the plan without announcing revisions. Ethan's camera keeps recording because records matter later, when nerves do not. Snow thickens, muffling choices. The night leans forward, curious and ready to interfere. Within the warehouse, air hangs heavy with yeast, oil, and the sweet sting of mash. Shadows exchange places with light, trading advantage as clouds cross the moon. Crates form narrow canyons where footsteps multiply and mislead. The operation breathes in grunts, boots, and the occasional scrape of metal on wood. Travis Kane moves with the impatience of a man living on borrowed schedules. His jacket carries smoke and ego. His hands shake only between tasks. He believes in momentum more than plans and trusts threats more than allies. The building remembers lumber days when labor earned a cleaner kind of ache. Now the rafters absorb secrets and release them as drips that mark concrete. Somewhere near the door, Snow insists on entering, laying delicate fingerprints on a floor that lies. The stage is set. The air thickens. Consequence enters quietly and chooses a vantage.
Rex Canine reads movement like an alphabet honed by weather and need. The boy's scent spikes with panic, a sharp citrus over wool and fear. Adults inside stir into angles that end badly, and the pattern writes itself. Ethan shifts weight and accepts cost, measuring distance, ranking threats, assigning outcomes. The dog goes first because hesitation often kills. Training becomes instinct, becomes duty. Across oil-dark concrete, paws find purchase, body becomes a question hurtling toward an answer. Muscle, tooth, momentum, restraint. a liturgy spoken without words but entirely understood. Wood splinters, metal clatters, the building flinches, winter rushes through the open door. The night outside recoils, then leans in, then approves. Cameras keep their indifferent gaze, truth preserved for bureaucracies that will follow. The balance of power changes with a thud that echoes. Breath explodes from chests, futures reorganize at speed. Momentum spills into the yard and then into the timberline that hems the tracks. Travis favors darkness and terrain he thinks belongs to him by memory. Snow covers loyalty to no man and hides both sin and pursuit with equal skill. Ethan's stride shortens to efficiency, boots cutting V-shaped declarations toward resolution. Rex K9 threads low branches, gathers scent molecules like receipts for later testimony. The forest narrows sound into wires that snap when stepped upon. Breath becomes a currency that must be budgeted. Choices become coins thrown carefully. The slope steals footing, then returns it grudgingly as if charging interest. Far below, the warehouse glows like a coal refusing to die. Far ahead, a noise betrays panic, not strategy, and the trail brightens. The town listens from every pine needle, withholding comment. The chase writes its lines fast, the end waits, unblinking. Back within corrugated shelter, fate arranges distance, angles, and the weight of seconds. Tin lamps hum a brittle hymn, while powder smells replace mash. The floor remembers old sawdust and now tastes grit and melted snow. Fear sharpens men into tools that break easily when bent wrong. Ethan centers breath and narrows vision to a corridor where outcomes branch. Rex K9 steadies at flank, shoulder hot, resolve hotter, Scar singing winter. Jake presses against cover that learned mercy from splinters and paint. The world shrinks to motion and recoil, to impact measured in physics and will. Somewhere, a clock ticks past midnight, and into responsibility no calendar erases. Ethics do not argue here, they simply stand, anchored by training and promise. The lamps flicker once like a warning, then harden. Decisions complete themselves. What remains is aftermath and the work of repair. Travis Kane's empire was always plywood and threats, never granite and oath. When force meets habit, habit shatters and noise replaces plan. The crates that promised income become obstacles, and then liabilities, and then proof. Boots skid, breath burns, certainty drains through a dozen overlooked details. The forest outside continues its cold breathing, indifferent to arithmetic inside. A gun clatters out of reach, and with it a myth about control. Rex K9 anchors the room to consequence, eyes unwavering, body insisting on compliance. Ethan harvests order from shrapnel, one measured motion at a time. Snow stumbles through the open doorway, laying a clean edge along dirty footprints. In the distance, a horn marks the town's stubborn pulse. The small kingdom collapses into inventory and custody. Winter attends the ceremony without comment. Pride, poorly built, resigns in silence. Paperwork prepares its necessary pen.
Rex K9 carries a new line of pain across old maps of scar and memory. The graze burns, then throbs, then quiets into a drumbeat he can ignore. Dr. Grace Turner's hands are steady tomorrow, but tonight, survival chooses triage. Jake's touch becomes a tether that convinces stubborn hearts to slow. The warehouse breathes smoke and apology, while sirens comb the cold for endings. Ethan files the room into mind and evidence bags, moving with careful economy. Sheriff Hayes arrives with Winter clinging to her coat like a second badge. Responsibility disperses into trained hands, each task a brick in the bridge back.
The dog stands, because standing is how courage talks to fear, without raising voice. The boy stands because heroes do, even when small. The air cools. The building releases heat like regret. The night, temporarily convinced, permits grace to gather its tools. The ledger changes temperature around certain names, warming pages where power once hid. Councilman Howard Briggs occupies lines that hum with practiced innocence and exact totals. Routes align too neatly with budget meetings and committee trips through mountain passes. Permits bloom on storm days. Fuel discounts appear like benevolent snow angels. Ethan photographs margins where pencil gouged deeper, as if truth required pressure. Sheriff Hayes calculates fallout while keeping her face a clean horizon. The town is small enough that every domino knows the next by nickname. Rex Canine watches doorways while adults imagine consequences moving through kitchens and pews. The paper does not threaten. It simply insists, the way Winter insists, without apology. In a far office, a portrait smiles in advance of tomorrow's questions. The room holds steady while the future shifts underfoot. Integrity prepares to speak louder than comfort.
Morning plates the streets in pewter light, each rooftop rimmed with thin silver. Plows create corridors where commerce can try again, careful and slower. News travels in steam over diner counters and in texts between cousins. Opinions bloom, then hedge, then wait for the next fact to anchor certainty. Sheriff Hayes keeps briefings small, truth portioned for safety and momentum. Ethan returns to the clinic where promises were made and almost kept. Dr. Grace reviews Rex's shoulder with the patience of someone who respects stubbornness. Jake rehearses what courage will feel like once fear stops shouting. Sarah traces the outline of her pain and finds it receding in inches. The town does not cheer, it nods, exhales, and returns to chores. Winter grants an hour of mildness, an indulgence with no guarantee. Listening changes the shape of places. Frost Hollow begins that work. Ethan stands by a window fogged by breath, watching plows redraw the day. He inventories mistakes, near misses, and the arithmetic that spared lives by margins. The ledger waits in an evidence bag that feels heavier than metal. Rex Canine sleeps like a warrior between campaigns, one ear cocked toward duty. Sarah's gratitude exists in quiet looks that avoid grandeur. Jake's resilience stretches across the room like sunlight that remembers summer. Sheriff Hayes carries new burdens, disguised as folders and schedules. Regret arrives like a polite guest and insists on tea before leaving. Ethan does not argue. He accepts instruction and adjusts courses a degree at a time. The town's quiet is not emptiness, it is a vote for recovery. Snow slides from a roof and thumps the earth without drama. No speech follows. The apology is internal, ongoing, and sufficient.
Power enjoys back rooms and heavy drapes. Daylight makes it squint and miss steps. Councilman Briggs prepares a smile with practiced depths and practiced exits. Phones ring in offices that suddenly treasure voicemail. Attorneys weigh adjectives like gold. Sheriff Hayes refuses theater and chooses method, assembling warrants that ignore pedigree. Ethan organizes routes, vehicles, faces, and the moments men forgot to look down. Rex K9 tolerates rest because work will soon require precision. Sarah steadies with plans that do not include fear as a line item. Jake names the puppies he has not yet met in a notebook that collects dreams. The mountain overlooks everything without interference, a witness with no stake but memory. Winter rehearses thinning while still ready to bite. Light reaches corners that have not met it in seasons. Secrets blink, then scurry, then stall. Paper waits, patient as gravity. Weeks unspool like ribbons cut from thicker cloth. Snow surrenders in seams first, then fields, then ditches, then finally lawns. Meltwater writes in patient cursive along curbs and under fences. The town loosens its shoulders and counts new reasons to linger outside. Sarah salvages a storefront near the river bend, small windows, cheap rent, warm sun. Paint dries slow but honest. Wood polish lifts a sweetness from old grain. A sign is carved with careful hands. Rex's Brew, letters deep, edges smooth. Ethan learns the weight of shelves rather than crates and finds the change medicinal. Rex K9 inspects thresholds, approves corners, and claims a spot where light pools. Jake tests stools for squeaks and creates a menu that prioritizes comfort. Sheriff Hayes stops by after hours and leaves with shoulders lower. Spring's first birds tune the air. The town edits its myth and keeps the good parts.
Rex's Brew wakes early, machines purring, mugs warming hands, cinnamon attaching itself to memory. The room holds mismatched chairs that somehow agree on comfort. Photographs of rescues and volunteers line a wall that understands gratitude. Sunlight throws slow rectangles across the floor, performing gentle geometry. Sarah moves with a steadiness learned through storms. Ethan learns to linger without apology, a new craft he never trained for. Jake laughs from somewhere behind the grinder, a sound the town adopts gladly. Rex K9 rests near the door, collar feather flashing when light turns its head. Conversations start soft, then deepen, then sometimes fix small parts of people. Sheriff Hayes sits where she can see exits and also the pastry case. The river carries meltwater past, tugging winter toward distance. The cafe becomes a place where breath organizes and eyes soften. Morning finally remembers how. Investigations do not end neatly. They resume daily in smaller rooms with stiffer chairs. Councilman Briggs learns the flavor of testimony and the texture of typed transcripts. Associates drift from memory into attendance, reluctantly punctual. Paper multiplies until even the unaccused feel crowded. Sheriff Hayes persists, her voice calibrated to firmness without spectacle. Ethan supplies details precisely, more ledger than poet, each fact a measured nail. Rex K9 returns to training hours, rebuilding strength under Dr. Grace's watchful timing. Sarah receives letters that start with apologies and end with invoices. She answers neither. Jake brings homework to a corner table and leaves with stories rather than nightmares. The town remains imperfect and therefore alive. Spring hardens into certainty. The mountain still refuses commentary. Justice lags mercy, then catches up, then rests. Reckoning continues because integrity is a verb, not a conclusion.
Even healed towns keep a scar under the hairline, a reminder for honest days. Ethan walks the river path after closing and counts lights in windows. Rex K9 moves beside him with a gait that favors truth over pride. The cafe glows behind them, a lantern for those who need one. Jake's laughter rides the air like a small flag. Sarah's hum sews the room together. Sheriff Hayes signs something final and immediately begins something new. The ledger sleeps in an archive box that will eventually collect dust and respect. The mountain studies its reflection in calmer water and approves without expression. Trains pass less often now, each horn a gentler note than winter's alarm. The night no longer argues, it negotiates. The circle does not close, it expands, making room for what survived. Tomorrow waits near the door, polite and unafraid. Morning climbs the ridge and spills itself across rooftops like grace, remembering addresses. Frost recedes to bright edges, then retreats entirely into story. The silver feather on Rex K9's collar lifts with each breath, a metronome for peace. Steam curls from mugs held by hands that once clenched too hard. The cafe door opens and closes with the rhythm of belonging. Ethan rests a palm on warm fur and feels the old drum slowed to contentment. Jake sketches a puppy asleep, lines soft, eraser hardly needed. Sarah wipes a counter that already shines and smiles at nothing in particular. Sheriff Hayes drinks quietly, watching a town choose its better habits again. Outside, the river carries secrets toward oceans that forgive by dilution. Inside, the room holds what it can, gently, without promise beyond presence. Some angels fly, some patrol, some simply stay until you remember how.